Get ready for a powerhouse of inspiration. Principal Baruti Kafele, a highly regarded educator and a transformational leader, Principal Kafele has spent over 20 years in New Jersey's urban schools, making a lasting impact as both a master teacher and a turnaround principal. Under his leadership, the mighty Newark Tech transformed from a low-performing school to one of America's best, as recognized by U.S. News and World Report 3 times. A recipient of the prestigious Milken Educator Award, Principal Kafele is one of the most sought-after voices in school leadership and equity. He's delivered over 3,000 keynotes, workshops, and seminars across the nation, authored 13 books, including 7 ASCD bestsellers, and continues to empower leaders through his live-streamed AP and New Principals Academy. Please join us in welcoming the extraordinary Principal Baruti Kafele.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to week 247 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got checking in this morning. We got a lot of y'all, man. Let's see. We got Constance Sherrod out in Pearl, Mississippi. Nadira Coley, Newark native, Newark, New Jersey. Mona Obermolak in Orlando, Florida. Michael Benton's in Cincinnati, Ohio. Dr. Rachel Edo Eckett is in Maryland. Yolanda McKinney's in Texas. We got Rodney Richardson in Hampton, VA. Where we at? Grace Castaneda in Kyle, Texas. L. Jones Pratt is in Texas. AP Patrick Lawrence is in Connecticut. Robin Snowden, she said, Hotep to myself and the Queen. From Fresno, what is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? You got your copy yet, Robin? We got Marsha Poe in San Diego. Leslie Akintunde is in Northern Virginia. Ronald Pugh is in Cedar Hill, Texas. Tracy Farris, where we at is in LA. So I hope everything is good with your circumstances. I know it's not good in LA, at least in Southern LA. In LA, but hopefully with your circumstances, at least, Tracy, everything is okay. Chancellor Davis is in Vegas, which is where I am. Look at this background, man. It don't get no cheesier than that, right? Oh, there we at. Where we at? Chancellor Day, UNLV. That's right, man. I was at the game the other night. Not bad. I had a good time. Lysandra Brackens, North Carolina. Gadsden Elementary School District in St. Louis, I should say. Let me try that again. San Luis, Arizona. Y'all, I'm tired, man. That's where my brother Omar Duron is at, man. But it's early, man. I'm used to doing this at 10:55, right? Not at 7:55. We got Tashika Truesdale in the building from Atlanta. Gamer Felix is in Somerton, Arizona. Stacy Joy. And same thing with you, Stacy. I hope everything is good on your end, right? I know it's not good in the region, but at least good on your end in LA. She said, let's go. Melissa Jones-Chunu is out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Dr. Rella Hicks is in Augusta, GA. I'm supposed to be down there, Dr. Hicks. I don't remember the date, but I'm coming down there soon, right? September, Devon Vance Daniels. Maybe you're the one that made that happen. Lynette Wilson is in Jersey. Lynette's in Wilson. Edwin Garcia is in Jersey. Good morning to you, sir. You on my list. I just haven't gotten to you yet, but I will for sure. Jasmine Harris. We're going to revisit that invitation too, Jasmine. Hope everything is good with you on your end. Principal Old Kitchen II is in the building. I'm getting ready to close it down, y'all. Vanessa Zeskin. I see you. Let's get it. Dot McKeever Jeter, Principal Dot McKeever Jeter in the building, man. I appreciate all you do for all 4 of the Fantastic 4. You one of us, you fam. You definitely are. Tanita Smith, I gotta get you back on for a follow-up too, Dot. We'll get it in there. Tanita Smith is in Chicago. My man, Principal Josh Tovar. I gotta check them videos, Josh. I know you tagged me on a couple, man. I've been kind of taking it down. I've been posting a little something, but I haven't been reading a lot on social media. I actually been doing some serious book reading, and I got 2 books over here I've been reading while I'm down, while I'm out of the sky at least. Jacqueline Harriet, I see you in Nova Scotia, and let me close it out. Let me close it out on this one. This is a Milken sister, Tammy Range Alexander. That's Dr. Tammy Range Alexander. Her daughter, Dr. Amara Alexander, was on with us last week. If you didn't see that, definitely go back and check it out. We're in Milken, January 2025. So make sure you check that out. And then we'll have our last one next week with the founder of the Milken Educator Awards, Lowell Milken. We're going to go one-on-one, but we'll talk more about that at the end. Let me say to everybody, I'm not going to get too loud. I'm in a hotel room, man. I don't want to be waking up people. I see you there, Dr. Joe Griffin. Appreciate you. But let me say to you quietly, good morning. No yelling this morning, at least not right now. You never know later on, man. But it's Vegas, man. These people should be up right now. Good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 247 of the AP and New Principals Academy. And hey, that same question, man, let me get up in my camera. Let me ask you something, man. Let me ask you, hey, somebody, how you feeling? Like right now, how you feeling? Right. And we know that those answers vary, but I ask the question every Saturday for the most part, how are you feeling? I'm on vacation, y'all. And I think I'm older than most that tune in. I'm 64. This is a big year for me because I'll be 65 this year, 2025. But it ain't till the fall, right? So we gonna ride out 64 for a while. But I'm gonna tell you something. I've learned that I worked hard over them years. Teaching, principalship, speaking, consulting. I went hard. Can nobody say that Kafele doesn't work hard, right? And quite frankly, I have a mindset and attitude that you and you will not outwork me. That's just the way I'm wired, right? No one's going to outwork me, nobody, right? So, but I've learned over the past few years that you got to take it down and enjoy life, right? So as you know, I went on vacation in September, then October, then November. Then I was supposed to do it in December, but life got in the way. So here I am. We're considering this December vacation back in Vegas. And I'm saying that to say this. This allows me to answer that question affirmatively. I feel pretty good. I feel good, right? I feel great. I feel phenomenal because I'm making sure that I got some harmony in my life, right? Some balance in my life, and just leaving the work, not leaving being active, because I can't. If I'm not doing something related to work, then I'll go crazy, right? So I got to be reading something, right? I got to be creating something, whatever it is, but I'm doing it in a relaxed way. So when I ask you how you feeling, then really the question that would accompany that is, what are you doing to make sure that answer is what you want it to be, as opposed to what it is, right? So just keep that in mind. But again, that's how we started off. You got to do that introspection and ask yourself, why is life, as far as what I have control over, not allowing me to be me, right? To enjoy me, to enjoy life the way I want to. See, I'm gonna say this to you. Educational Gilmore, I see you, and I see you in person next Saturday at that NAACP event. Looking forward to that. I saw my man Educational Gilmore and forgot my whole train of thought. So when it comes back to me, I'll go back to it. Folks, let me jump into my announcements. Continued thoughts and prayers to particularly the fam of this platform who were impacted by the wildfires in Southern California. Thoughts and prayers to everybody out there. But I just want to give a particular prayer to the fam out there who are impacted by it. I don't mean solely folks who lost homes or who had to evacuate, but their homes are still standing. I don't mean just them. I mean also people who are related to people who are friends with people who know people, right? Because even though you may not live there, you may be impacted by it just by the fact that These are people that you love. These are people that you know. These are people that you care for. These are people that you care about, right? So, thoughts and prayers. And I'm going to be doing that for a while, because every time I turn on the TV, it's not like things got better. It's still bad, right? So, so this will be a continued flow to let people know that we as a family, we as an AP and New Principals Academy fam, we're thinking about you. We're gonna keep on thinking about you, and I know that there are many of us who are even going beyond thinking and praying, and making donations and whatever other else can be done. So, and I want to particularly talk, extend thoughts and prayers to Dr. Jane Foley. Right, she's the executive vice president of the Milken Educator Award. She was on the platform with us last year. But she may be watching right now, but she's still active. She's still working. We've been texting and so forth about next week's guest, the founder of the Milken Educator Award. So she's still active. She just can't be in her house. But her place is still standing, but she can't be there. Right. So I wanted to particularly talk about Dr. Jane Foley during this January Milken new 2025 month that I've put together every year now in January. And let's keep going. I don't have any clients to shout out this week because I haven't worked as far as speaking. So just shout out to Vegas, man. It's been a good run, man. Went to see the Isley brothers last night. Went to see UNLV basketball the other night. Going to see Lionel Richie tonight, right? And going to watch some football later today, and going to watch some football all day tomorrow. Oh, my goodness. We got a game that's coming tomorrow with Baltimore and Buffalo, and I can't wait. I'll be glued to the television set. Welcome to the first timers. If this is, in fact, your first time, that means you have missed 246 sessions. That's a lot of sessions. Forget about saying sessions. That's a lot of power. Right. If this is your first time here, you've missed some power. A lot of people say to me, Kafele, the university has nothing on this platform. I hear that all the time. The only thing I can do that the university does, I can't grade y'all. Right. I can't assign anything to you. Right. And I wish I could. Right. But there's something, I don't even want to tease anybody, but there's something in the back of my mind that someone kind of put in the back of my mind. And stay tuned. That's all I'm gonna tell you right now. Just stay tuned, right? So, but yeah, I hear that all the time. Principal Kafele, man, ain't university got nothing on what y'all do? I said, I appreciate it. Thanks for staying on. I see my former student, Letitia Anderson Davis. This young lady was my student when she was a 6th grader. She a grown woman now with her own teenage kids and all that kind of stuff. But when the former student stays locked in with you, that's the evidence right there that you must have done something good. She was my student in my first year in New Jersey as a teacher. One of my first years as a teacher, because I started in New York, but in my first year in New Jersey, in my home state, which was 92, 93, right? So 92, 93, here's 2025. She's still rocking. Good to see you, Letitia, and good morning to you and to your fam. Let's go. I want y'all to mark your calendar for July 15 and 16. My Instructional Leadership Institute, July 15 and 16 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Man, I want y'all to join me, man. Join me this summer. Everybody gets a copy, man. I told you, I'm gonna keep telling you. Everybody gets a copy of the new joint. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? All you got to do is register. And I'll see you in July. Go to principalkafele.com, scroll down to where it says Instructional Leadership Institute, Raleigh, North Carolina, July 15 and 16. Want to see you in the building. 2 days, man. All we're going to do is talk instructional leadership for 2 days, man. Can't beat it. So I hope to see you. Register. You get a free copy. And that's not the only thing you get. If you're one of the first 50 to register, you get a copy of the Principal 50, right? So you get 2 books. If you already got this, then give the other copy to somebody that could benefit from it, right? So enough said there. Next, let me put this little gadget up on the screen here. This little overlay. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Where we at? I can't even find it, but I know it's here. Here it is. Let me get rid of this. Let me put that. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Boom. Listen, y'all. I got my numbers yesterday, man. The book has been out now for exactly a month. It came out December 16. So here we are, January 18, but I got my numbers on the 16th. We 2,300 copies sold. So I ain't mad. 2,300 copies in a month. I ain't mad. But you know something? There are over 100,000 principals, probably over 300,000 APs in America. Man, we just starting, man. I want everybody to have this book, especially anybody that's in a school. Hear me well. Anybody that's in a school where you should be that instructional leader. You know that. I don't think there's an administrator in America that doesn't know that this is who and what you should be. But let's say you know that, but you're not that, right? Let me say it again. You know that. You know you're supposed to be that instructional leader in your building, but you're not that, right? Then I wrote this for you, right? I wrote this for you. I kept it short, but I kept it powerful. The best review I've seen of it so far, as far as informally, is Dr. Joe Griffin. Go to my page and see what he wrote, and powerful words he wrote in terms of his description of what this is, right? So go to Amazon, get yourself a copy. Go to ASCD.org, get yourself a copy. Either one. There are other places, but I just want to highlight those two. In this order, ASCD.org, that's the publisher, or Amazon.com. Just go there and get a copy, or get a bunch of copies, man. If you're administrator, you superintendent, your assistant superintendent, get enough for everybody, right? It's a good read. It's a quick read. It's ideal for a book study. And I'm going to tell you, as I keep saying every week, chapter 8 on your school leadership team, the longest chapter in the book, that's the one, baby. Right? So get yourself a copy. And let me say this to you, y'all. I don't know how comfortable I am of saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you get it from Amazon, make sure that you give me them 5 stars, right? That really matters. And write a review. Doesn't have to be long, but just write something, right? The book, when I wrote the Assistant Principal 50, I didn't have to tell that to anybody. That thing has like over 1,100 stars, right? Ratings, and then it's got a zillion reviews. So that's good. But I want to remind people, because people, they letting me know they love it and all that on social media. But I want you to also put that on Amazon's page, right? Give me them 5 stars. Don't give me no 4 stars, because this ain't no 4-star book, right? Give me them 5 stars, right? But then also say a little something, right? We live in an algorithm world. I keep saying that to you every week. And that's part of what triggers algorithms. Algorithms, not just in terms of the technological algorithm, but algorithms of life, right? See, algorithms are us as well, right? So just give me them 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give me all 5, right? And then give me a little review, right? Enough said there. I think I'm ready to bring up my guest. Do me a favor, y'all. Hit that share button, hit that retweet button, hit that repost button. Tag those Facebook leadership groups for me. Tag somebody, text somebody, call somebody, whatever it is. Let them know we are here. I'm ready to bring up my guest. I'm finished with my announcement, so let's go. Let's get that book out the way first. Here we go. Let's change the background of this screen real quick. There we go. And now let me bring up my guest. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I got my Milken brothers in the building. Oh, you got to, let me remove one of those, Johnny. There we go. That's the one you want, I guess. So,
Yes.
Yes, sir. Hey, good morning, brothers. How you doing?
Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. To the fam out there that don't know, if you haven't been reading the post, this is something I created out of my imagination. We call it Milken January's 19. Oh wow, I'm still asleep. 2025, right? I probably need that coffee at this point, right? 2025, and we just bring up my colleagues from Milken. Those of us who were blessed to receive the Milken Educator Award, mine December 1st, 2009. I'm not going to show the video this week. I've been showing it all month, but I'm not going to show it this time. But what a special day, December 1, 2009, when Lowell Milken appeared in my gymnasium and surprised me with this check for $25,000. Well, the three gentlemen that you see on the screen, the same thing happened in their world. And we'll talk about that as I get into the questions with them. But I got to go from my phone today, man. The business center was closed. I got to use my phone and reading, man. This print is so small. Here we go. Let me tell you about Andrew Rebello, and I did pronounce that correctly. Your last name, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's an award-winning and nationally recognized educational leader who serves as the assistant superintendent for Bristol Plymouth Technical School District. Rebello's journey in education includes leadership and administrator roles in Greater Fall River Vocational School District, Boston Public Schools, and Fall River Public Schools. Rebello's career accomplishments, and I'm reading fast, y'all, because I got 3 to read today. Rebello's career accomplishments have earned him the National Milken Educator of the Year Award from the Milken Foundation, which recognizes excellence in education. He has also earned the 2024 Massachusetts Principal of the Year Award and was the 2025 NASSP, National Association of Secondary School Principals, National Principal of the Year finalist. Rebello's leadership abilities have been widely recognized, leading to his appointment to the Economic Development Planning Council by Governor Maura Healey. In this influential role, he is instrumental in developing strategies to promote economic growth through education. His involvement in various educational organizations further demonstrates Rebello's commitment to the field. He has served on the DESC Educator Focus Group, the MSAA Educational Policy and Legislative Committee, and is an active National Association of Secondary School Principals member. Rebello also serves as an MSAA principal and administrator coach and is a member of the MSAA Board of Directors. Good stuff. Great stuff. We got Dr. Johnny Walker in the building. For Winona Middle School principal, Dr. Johnny Walker, supporting students and staff to excel is his top priority. With a background as a former teacher, instructional specialist, and associate principal, Dr. Walker brings a wealth of experience in creating a positive, student-centered learning environment. His leadership is marked by collaboration, data-driven strategies, and a commitment to instructional growth, all of which have contributed to significant improvements at WMS. Under his leadership, the school's rating, hear this, y'all, under his leadership, the school's rating rose from an F in 2018-19 to a B in 2021-22, and achieving an A rating during the 2022-23 school year. Y'all know we're going to talk about that. You know that. Dr. Walker emphasizes professional growth through weekly cluster meetings and refined instructional strategies. His partnership with the National Institute of Excellence in Teaching strengthens the school's approach to maximizing student achievement and teacher effectiveness. His guidance to the instructional leadership team ensures growth in data analysis, coaching, evidence-based instructional practices. And finally, outside of school, Dr. Walker is an active member of his church and is deeply committed to serving the community. He and his wife, Angela, have been married for 16 years and are proud parents of 3 energetic boys. Dr. Walker earned his bachelor's in history from Wiley University, a master of education from Stephen F. Austin State University, and a doctorate of education from the University of Texas at Tyler. Every time I hear that word Tyler, I think about their airport with GGG. That's the code. And man, if you come out there to Tyler, you might as well plan to stay the next night, because you ain't getting a flight out of there if you spoke all day. Like, oh man, here we go. We got Omar Duron with the 23 years of experience in education. Omar Duron has risen through the ranks from instructional aide to associate superintendent, and now serves as the superintendent of Somerton School District number 11. A proud native of St. Louis, Arizona, a vibrant border city, and now a resident of Somerton, Arizona. Mr. Duron brings a rich and diverse perspective to leadership, teaching, and learning. His role as superintendent is defined by an unwavering commitment for educational excellence across the district. He's currently pursuing a doctoral degree at the University of Arizona with a research focus on enhancing the educational experience of English language learners. His dedication to professional growth has been recognized through multiple honors, including scholarships from the Dr. George and Garcia Leadership Scholarship, and twice receiving the Arizona Association of Latino Administrators Superintendents Scholarship Award. And I might add that intro I have, Omar, that's what I got from there.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to give me that video.
I love it.
Yeah. In his previous role as principal of Southwest Junior High School, Mr. Duron and his leadership team fostered strong relationships with all stakeholders, transformed the school from a C to an A-rated institution, the highest designation in the state. This remarkable achievement became a cornerstone of his leadership philosophy. In 2019, Mr. Duron was honored with the prestigious Milken Educator Award, which allowed him to collaborate with educators nationwide and advocate for systemic improvements in education. Today, as superintendent, Omar Duron is dedicated to driving meaningful change and ensuring that all students have access to high-quality education. His leadership continues to inspire innovation, collaboration, and a relentless focus on the success of every learner. Strong stuff, y'all. Hey, fam out there, we're ready. Do me a favor, as I said before, hit the repost, hit the retweet, hit the share button, tag somebody, tag them Facebook leadership groups, and most importantly, in an algorithm-based world, technologically speaking now, hit that like button. Even though we haven't gotten in anything yet, hit the like button anyway. Just hit that like button. YouTube in particular, hit that like button. That's how we get people knowing, oh, they on. It's on at the AP at New Principals Academy. Here we go. I gotta maneuver with my phone today. Hey, Andrew, let me start with you. And I forgot to tell you all off mic. I try to keep it informal with first names, but if someone has a doctorate, I don't do first name because too much work went into it. I know the two of you are almost there, right? But Walker has his. I got it. Yeah, I ain't gonna call you Johnny, man. I can't do it. It's Dr. Walker because, and as I tell everybody, if anybody new on here, there could be someone on my thread new today that was working on the doctorate, but then life got in the way and they kind of put it down, right? Because man, I'm trying to lead this school. I'm trying to do this and that. And I call my guests by their doctor title to remind you that you still have work to do. So even though life got in the way, guess what? For Dr. Walker, life got in his way too, but he still forged ahead and got it, right? So there's no excuses. You don't see doctor by my name, and let me tell you why real quick. Because someone say, yeah, that's right, that's very hypocritical, Kafele. I never wanted one. That's all I got. I've never wanted a doctorate. I don't know what it is. Probably because I've been spoiled since I was in my 30s of people calling me Dr. Kafele. Right? So since I was in my 30s, Dr. Kafele, Dr. Kafele. I got so used to it, I don't even tell people I don't have a doctorate anymore. They say, hey, Dr. Kafele, yes. Right. So that's how I roll now, y'all. So I probably got spoiled. Let's go. Hey, Andrew, you're in the midst of a season, and you know this. Of extraordinary accomplishment. Let me just list this, extracted from the bio. Milken Educator Award in 2023, Massachusetts Principal of the Year in 2024, NASSP National Principal of the Year finalist for 2025. That a lot of us in the church world we call that a season. You in a season right now. You flying right now, and I want to. My question to you is it's not really a question. It's a statement, I guess. I want to understand, and I want the fam out there to understand your grind and the attitude that accompanies your grind for you to in this season achieve at such a high level of accomplishment. Talk to us about both your grind and the attitude you bring that accompanies your grind.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, it's an honor to be here. I've been following you for over 10 years back when, wow. Before I was even assistant principal, buying the books and just watching you. So to be here is an honor. And I know I told you that, last summer, but the grind is real. And I think one word to encapsulate it all is just urgency in every domain of our work. I was hired on March 3rd of 2020 as the principal of my school, about 1,500 kids in an urban setting. We're a technical school, meaning we have, the academic traditional education, but also 18 vocational programs, everything from plumbing to health assisting. And I was hired on March 3rd, 2020. And I remember standing in front of my staff and saying, we're going to be remembered how we treat this moment. And, I guess in the back of my mind, it was always never let a good crisis go to waste. And we put our foot on the gas. But that's how I've treated my whole life, whether I was, playing college football, coaching college football, to being a guidance counselor, to being, an assistant principal where, and I know, staff at the time may have looked at me and said, well, he's never been in the classroom. I grinded to make sure I was the best instructional leader I could possibly be all the way through my career. And I do feel like I'm in a season, right, where, it's been an incredible year from Milken to NASSP to being down in DC. And then now in my assistant superintendent role, I really just feel a sense of urgency at all times in this work. And, I would say, through it all, the information is out there. People like Principal Confele are out there. It's not a skill set deficit that we have to reduce and get and accomplish the gaps. It's a will set proposition. And I'm not the first to make that pronouncement, but it's so true. The information is out there to do everything we want in education. It is a will set proposition. Do we have the professional will? And in my case, maybe we'll get into it, the political courage to do right by our students. And I feel like every step of the way, I've made that hard decision to do right by our students. I have few more gray hairs because of it, but it ultimately ended up in the accolades in the year I'm having, which is an undoubted blessing, undoubtedly. But at the end of the day, it's all a reflection of our students and our teachers. And just another point in there, Principal Confele, to make this year even more of a whirlwind, I was accepted into Harvard's doctorate program in May of 24. I was accepted. Now, of course, it wasn't the right time for me, meaning, it was 3 years full time. They pay for you to go there. They only accept 25 people throughout the world. But it wasn't the right time for me to go back. But undoubtedly, I'm going to get my doctorate at some point. But it was an incredible year, but it's all a reflection of the students and the teachers and creating that buy-in as a leader. So I'm sure we'll get to it all, but seasons will come and go. The work won't. The urgency shouldn't. So that's kind of how I lead.
There are two things that stuck out for me of everything you said. Urgency, which you started and ended with, certainly. But that will set proposition. People have been writing that, I see in the chat. Let me ask the fam a question, and I'm going to keep going based on what you said. Hey, fam, I know you have the skill set, but do you bring the will set to your work? Now, fam, y'all going to hear me use that a lot moving forward, because I talk about will all the time. I'm the one that coined the attitude gap. That's all rooted in will, but I never put set with it. So I got to steal that from you, Andrew.
That's the will, right? Take what works.
The will set. Do you bring the will set to your skill set? Oh man, that should have been in here.
It's true though, because it's out there. We all have the skills. I know APs and principals are on this call right now. Everything that you need to know is out there, or you already know. It's about, okay, I really don't feel like getting in teachers' classrooms today. It's, I got this crisis, this fire, this crisis, but putting our instructional work, putting our kids above everything else. Maybe it's the teachers that are really pushing back on you, or the unions being hard. There's always going to be something. If you're waiting for the sweet spot in education to do stuff where the unions are sleeping and the parents are just perfect and the kids are just, then it's never going to come. This work is always going to be there, and it's our job to do right by our kids, even in the toughest of moments through our personal and professional lives.
Love it. Let me go, Dr. Walker. When I was reading the bio, I said we're gonna revisit those ratings. And under your leadership, let me just read it to the fam again. Your school's ratings rose from an F in 2018-19 to a B in 2021-22, and achieving an A rating during the 22-23 school year. So later on, we're going to talk about some of those components, but right now we're in the phase where I'm just talking about want my guests to share a little bit about you guys. What is it about, Dr. Walker? What is it about your leadership that was such a difference maker for your school between 2018 to 2023?
Yes, sir. Principal Kafele, thank you so much, first off, for the opportunity to be on with you.
Yes, sir.
Here, like Andrew, we've seen your work for years now. And it's just an honor to be in the same space with you. And so for that, we're, so grateful.
I appreciate you.
Thinking back, very similar to Andrew, I became principal of Winona Middle School in 2020. And so in years prior, there had been some struggle that resulted in an F rating. But to answer your question, I'm thinking just providing focus to a campus. So many times, when schools are in turnaround, there is no instructional focus, there's no leadership focus. So being able to come in and bring some type of level of focus to where we need to go. The studies show that it takes, really 5 to 7 years to see sustained turnaround or improvement in schools. But we already know sometimes the state doesn't give us that. They want rapid turnaround. So you'd have to put those systems in place quickly to see that. But providing focus for teachers. When we think about school improvement, it's the continuous process that ensures that all campuses provide access, opportunity, and support to the highest leverage practices that increase outcomes for students. And so just being able to think about what do our kids need?
Yeah.
Really getting to the root of the matter. So many times, we try to fix the symptoms of what's happening, but it's really those diagnostics, those root cause analysis that help us dig down to what's going to bring healing to this situation. And the house is on fire. Being a new principal coming into a campus that's with an F campus, everything seems to be jacked up. Culturally, there's some problems. Everything's on life support. So you have to think about what are the 1 to 2 things that I could do quickly that will help move us in the right direction. And when I think about teachers, they need focus. Students need focus. So, that's what's really most important when you think about school turnaround, school improvement. What's that 1 to 2 things? What are those high leverage things that are going to move my campus in the right direction? And when I think about my experience being a school leader, teachers, the community, students, they want to know that you're credible. They want to know that they can trust you, and they want to know that you have knowledge. And so just developing credibility, trust, and knowledge around systems that move schools in the right direction, that was really important for me. And so, here we are 4 years later, everything's not perfect. We're still a work in progress. But my campus, they believe in me because they know that I'm going to put student need above all things. I'm going to put student need above adult comfort. I'm going to put student need above what's most convenient, because at the end of the day, I don't want myself or my campus committing educational malpractice. We have to do what's best for students every single day. So just to go back to your question, focus is number one.
Yeah, focus. You use that word belief, believe in you, believe in your leadership. And to the fam out there, let me put my mirror up. I did bring my mirror with me. And the question, like you got primarily leaders on the call, whether it be assistant principals, aspiring leaders, and in central office. But what is it about your leadership that the folks you lead believe in your leadership, right? Like Dr. Walker talked about, that credibility, that trust, that knowledge. And what is it about your credibility? Do your staff members, does your staff see that credibility? Do they believe that you're a credible leader in what you do, right? That matters. And that's why this is game film. That's why this is so important. Self-reflection, self-assessment, self-adjustment, self-improvement, right? It's so important. Good stuff. My brother Omar, you've risen through the ranks from instructional aide to superintendent of schools. That's huge. Everybody doesn't want that necessarily, but there's some who would love to, but it just doesn't happen for them for whatever the reason, right? But I got a two-parter for you, actually. Okay. At what point in your journey, here you are, instructional aide and going through the ranks, when was it that you said, I'm a superintendent, right? When did that happen?
It happened by, by the miracle of what I wanted to do, and the impact that I wanted to have in a community, really. I never saw myself, before I continue, Principal Kefele, I also want to give you honors for allowing me to be here in this space with you. I've seen you live several times, and I always get so inspired by your message. And I've also shared the stage with Dr. Walker, and I mean, thank you for all the insights that you bring to education. And I've met Andrew, and so we've exchanged a lot in that particular exchange. And so I'm just excited to be part of this group. Sometimes I have to pinch myself, like the idea of believing, right? I need to grab a mirror and say, I have to believe in this. And so that's something that I really think about, the idea of believing, because I will be honest with you, I never thought myself as a principal, associate, superintendent. I always thought myself as a teacher, as an educator. And I think the reason why I feel that I've been able to continuously grow into different roles is because, first and foremost, I keep myself grounded in the classroom. I'm a teacher before I'm an administrator, and so my message has always been, whatever is the need in the classroom, that will be my focus. And so as a superintendent, that is basically my message. I will go into the classroom and I will bug a teacher to allow me to support them in a ELA lesson, or I will go into a cluster meeting with a group of teachers and jump in if I can to help lead the cluster. I'm all about the learning. The reason why is because I think that my journey has been personal, right? So coming in from Mexico when I was a really young kid, I didn't have the education that I wanted for myself. And so growing up in my community, a great community, I love it. But I saw deficiencies in education that I thought, well, go in and try to do the best that you can and make the impact that you can in the classroom. And so I always thought, well, I'm going to make an impact in the classroom for 30 students, right? Or 32 students, whatever that year had me teaching. And I was perfectly, content and happy and producing great things. But, there were several, mentors that would say, hey, look at the impact that you have in the classroom. Imagine if you were to be a master teacher or a principal, you would be multiplying that impact exponentially. And so the idea of being a superintendent is that, right? So hopefully continue to make an impact in a community, in the Somerton School District, and really moving forward with great things.
Love it. As I listened to you, I kind of thought back, and I'll tie this into my follow-up question. I never wanted, like I said, never wanted a doctorate, and I never wanted to be a superintendent. Never. But I had school boards that wanted me to be a superintendent. So because so many of them were coming at me, I finally decided, okay, I'll go and sit down and listen to what they have to say. So it was an interview, but I never stayed for those interviews. I said, I don't want this, because we're having the conversation. I'm making up all this stuff that I would do, knowing that I'm not really feeling it, right? And but I knew the right things to say. So I thought about, I love my place as a principal. I loved what I did as a teacher. I felt like that was me. But that superintendency, with the pressures that come along with that, they go beyond a principal's pressures, the demands, the challenges, the obstacles, they're very different, right? So my question to you, you're in that role. What keeps you motivated to continue to forge ahead, knowing what I know about what it is to be a superintendent?
That's a great question. There are many, many things on my plate, and I enjoy every single one of them. Some of them are very managerial. There's a lot of things that we have to look at and make sure that things are running the way they should be running at the district level. But what keeps me motivated, it really is the idea of the power that we are doing in the classroom. And so every time that I'm able to, I spoke to all my principals and said, please do not be scared if you see me in your campuses. To me, I'm taking energy back from the classroom. So I'm taking energy back from the teachers to continue to connect what my goal and my vision is to what's happening in the classroom. So for me, that's the motivation, seeing the kids learning, seeing the kids, interacting, and just having a great experience in the classroom. So also what I do is I try to focus a lot on how to best support our teachers, because whatever we do for our teachers, it trickles down into the classroom, and obviously the byproduct being great learning in the classroom. And so those things really keep me motivated. Yes, I'm a superintendent, but I'm always going to be an educator. So my focus and my priority will be making sure that I'm present in the classrooms, in the schools, to see what the needs are, and again, to re-energize myself back so that I can continue to do some of the other, responsibilities as a superintendent that I have to do.
I love it. I think back on those interviews again, and every one of them, I said to them, if I were to take this position, because it wasn't a matter of if you hire me at this point, it was if I accept. And I said, I want you to understand, I'm gonna tell you up front, I have to spend my mornings in schools, right? I cannot be found at central office unless it's just a situation where I have to be there. But outside of that, I want to be in classrooms, right? Now, because they wanted me there, they said, no, we understand that. But I always wondered, but once I'm there, will you have issue with me being in classrooms, in schools, and subsequently classrooms, as opposed to being in central office and accessible to you all the time? So that's something I will never know. Andrew, let's go back to you. There are a ton of hardworking, highly successful leaders in our business, including, I'm sure, folks who are on this call right now, either live or who will see the video later, who are on the call, but are not necessarily seen or known about outside of their immediate vicinity. Right. So in our district, yeah, we know that person, but outside it, we don't know who this person is. Right. But they're doing this phenomenal work with young people and with schools and so forth. So for me as a teacher, I understood how to draw attention to what we were doing because I wanted my kids to shine. Now, quite frankly, I had my eyes on the principalship, so I needed to shine as well. Right. But I understood how to do that. Right. As a principal, I understood how to bring attention to what we were doing as a school, right? Because in this case, I wanted the school to shine because I really had no other aspirations as it related to the work as a principal. But then as a speaker, I'm a businessman, and I also know how to bring attention to the work, right? That's important. So I want to go to you. I talked about those 3 major accomplishments, and you got some other ones that I didn't even talk about, but those 3 major accomplishments. What is it about your work that you're able to bring that recognition to it? Because there's somebody out there that needs to know that.
Yeah. I think big for me was just kind of publicizing in a few different facets the incredible work we were doing. So what does that mean, right? I think it wasn't trying to publicize, hey, this is what I'm doing. It was more of showing the incredible work that was happening in our school and being intentional about, 1, finding it, and 2, promoting it, because it's happening every single day. And then releasing it in a way of platforms that could create that connection. So for me, that was Facebook and Twitter, obviously very heavy in my community. And then it was just bringing something that was original that hadn't been done before, right? Being in an automotive class and maybe interviewing a student or highlighting a facet of what was going on in there teaching and learning wise, that wasn't ever done in my community. So it was about, 1, finding the incredible work, and then 2, publicizing it because it wasn't being done. So it wasn't necessarily about my work. It was promoting the incredible things that our school was doing, whether it was the Family Academy that I developed. It was about promoting, look at this incredible initiative that's going to help families, maybe with a stat in there about how important family and school connections are, or our school-based health center where, again, it was finding out that, our students are chronically absent because there's not adequate access to healthcare. So going out and finding that or promoting that initiative. So it was more about, really pushing the envelope with things that were happening in our school, and then being very media savvy in the sense of understanding that so much of our world right now is perception. If your school is, people perceive it a certain way, whether it's, a lot of fights happening or not in an academically inclined school. So I wanted to shift the narrative. So being savvy with who writes about education in my community. Hey, this might be interesting. You might be interested in this. Check out this awesome cultural arts passport program that we developed and getting it in front of media personnel that can also promote it there. So it was really the social media and media and just really highlighting the incredible things that are happening that really got a lot of attention over the years and kind of just snowballed into multiple things, whether it was, 3 times in 4 years, the U.S. News and World Report, best high schools in the nation, where I've really capitalized on that because our school never had it before. So I made it a big deal. It's about making things a big deal. And that's what we focused on that I hope, we can continue at my current district.
That's great stuff. And to the fam out there, I gotta holler at y'all for a minute. I don't want somebody out there to think, well, I don't want to toot my own horn. No, you have to toot. If you're in leadership, either you're going to toot your horn or the world will toot it for you. And they may not toot it the way you want it tooted. Mm-hmm. So, back in my principal days, the end of it, here comes this thing called social media. But for the bulk of it, it doesn't exist. So what we had was newspapers. So hear me, somebody, then I'm going to go right to Dr. Walker. I forged relationship with those reporters. I didn't know them. I didn't know them from a can of paint, but I got to know. I said, because I'm going to tell our story, our narrative, not the world have a false perception of who we are, right? So let me forge relationship with these reporters, and everything we got something strong going on in my classroom or my school. A reporter so-and-so, come on down to the school. We doing this. We doing that. They showed up at everything. And all my colleagues, why are you in the paper all the time? Like how are you doing that? Because I'm doing what you're not doing. Yeah. I forged a relationship with the local reporters so that anytime we got something going, if it's just a spelling bee, they'll cover that story. See, you got to tell your story. You got to tell your narrative, or someone else will tell it for you. And it may not be what you want out there. Right. So you have to control that. So don't get mad at me when you talk about bringing attention to myself. No, yeah, you have to. Because you're going to get attention, but it might not be the attention that you want for yourself. You got to control that. And that's what I did. That's what I did. And I'm going to tell you one more thing, and then I'm going to step away from it. With social media today, I still control my narrative. Right. I still control it. Right. Enough said. Because somebody might get mad at me and put some slander out there on me just because you said that, Kafele. Right. So let me go. Hey, Dr. Walker, you're a leader that emphasizes professional growth through weekly cluster meetings. That stood out for me when I read the bio earlier this week, where educators share best practices and refine instructional strategies. For the fam, I want to read that last part again. Where educators share best practices and refine instructional strategies. Now, here's the question that I had in my mind, and I decided I'd just ask you publicly. Is there an accountability component to the cluster meetings to ensure that the cluster meetings are doing what you intend for them to do?
Wow, that's a great question. And I want to address that by just kind of thinking about, the way first, a great shout out to NIT, the National Institute of Teaching. We couldn't have achieved the success that we've achieved without that partnership. And so I know Omar is probably just really excited.
Yes, I'm excited about it.
After years now. But just thinking about the impact. And that's one of the things that we've really been striving for this year, is thinking about, is there evidence of impact with the structures that we're doing? Because you can do all of these things, but if there's no evidence of impact, you're wasting your time. And so we ensure that there's transfer from the ILT, the instructional leadership team, to those clusters, and there's transfer from clusters to the classroom. And so so going back to our cluster meetings, we ensure that we do follow the 5 steps for effective transfer. And we believe in that development piece. That's when teachers have a chance to practice whatever that new learning is for the week. We know in times past, we've been doing teacher meetings for years, but I think a key piece that was missing was that transfer or that practice piece, where teachers don't just sit and get, but they have an opportunity to practice whatever that new learning is. So that's a part of that accountability piece and that building of capacity, that we're just not telling teachers to do these things. We're not just identifying the problems, but we're bringing best practice to them, and we're also allowing them that time to develop in those. And so, there's this saying that you inspect what you expect, but I believe you have to take it a step further. You have to model what you expect. It's not enough just to let these things live in words, because that's not enough. You have to show teachers, to be explicit. You have to presume good intent, that when teachers aren't doing, or even when students aren't doing, it's maybe because they don't know how. So you have to bring that strong model. And so we do that during our cluster time, where we practice that key structure, and then we set some expectations around it. That, now that you practiced it, you've seen it, we expect to see this thing in classrooms. One of those things that we implemented here at the middle school was aggressive monitoring, is where teachers are setting for strong success criteria in the classroom for student learning and for student work. And so we provided that strong model, that training, and it took months to get it in place, just to be really honest, because it's a pretty high leverage skill. And so once we set those expectations, that model around it, now guys, we're ready to see it in the classrooms. We want to see it with fidelity. So, and again, going back to that, you would inspect what you expect, but you have to have a strong model for it. High expectations must be leveraged in high support. And so when we go into classrooms, we're looking for those key structures that we put in place, but we're also supporting. How can we refine this thing? Yeah, you started, you're doing well, but how can we push that? How can we help you level up and grow and take it to the next level? Because it's all about evidence for impact for students. How is this thing growing students?
Gotta model it. I love it. Dr. Walker, before I go to Omar, today is that day, right? A fam out there, Dr. Walker, this is anniversary. And today is his wedding anniversary. And
congrats.
But he's on here with us, and I appreciate him being here. So to the fam out there, wish him and his wife a happy anniversary in the chat, man. Let them know. And happy anniversary from me specifically, someone who's got 35 years in, right? Here we go, y'all. Hey, Omar, you currently pursuing a doctoral degree at the University of Arizona with a particular research focus on enhancing educational experiences of English language learners. That stood out for me, and that's why I decided I wanted to isolate it and make it a separate question. What do you see? This one might force you to want to do the whole dissertation, so I got to be careful in how I word it. What do you see as the current flaws, challenges, and obstacles of the educational experiences of English language learners?
Great question. I think all the questions are great. Particularly in Arizona, we have, pretty serious laws regarding the language development systems that we have to have in place in the classroom. Unfortunately, bilingual education is not one that we're able to really fully explore as an option in the classroom. And there's a lot of research that supports using the student's home language as a springboard to learn another language. And so just the idea of not being able to have some of those strategies that we can use to improve not only their language development, but also understanding the content that they need to learn at each grade level. So that is the reason why I'm really focusing on that. Not only from a personal experience, I'm an English language learner myself. I think I still am a little bit sometimes. And so when I was in the classroom as a classroom teacher, I taught ELL students. And so always analyzing their experience, I always felt there was something missing. The idea just focusing on the language, just developing those components to speak, was really leaving our students behind in regards to content. And that is disappointing to students, right? Because they get to a point where they may be fluent or proficient in their language, but then they look back at their academics and they're behind. A personal connection to my study is me personally, right? So from third grade all the way to high school, the attempt was there to learn the language with, the content as best as the teachers could, right? To add the content as we were learning the language. But then there was a point in mid high school where I thought, wow, now I understand how to speak the language, but I don't remember learning about science or history or social studies or anything. And so at that point, it was a turning point for my career. I could have drop out of school and go to work with my dad in the fields, or I could have taken a different turn and try to make an impact for future generations. And so that's basically what I did. I took my education on my own hands, and I moved forward and forged on to make sure I got a degree in the precise area that I feel would make a difference. And so that's been my journey, and that is the reason why I wanted to go back as part of my dissertation to really emphasize, and research, what's happening in the classroom that may not be supporting the full learning experience of the student, and what is it that we can do specifically in communities like San Luis, Arizona, or Somerton, that we have a high population of ELL learners, and our communities are Hispanic, and they speak, Spanish is probably it is the main spoken language. And so there are different things that you need to consider in communities like the ones that are closest to the border, that really differ from communities that are suburban or urban. So that is definitely my focus. And if I can add on, Principal Kefili, what Dr. Walker was saying, the importance of a PLC or cluster. I'm a true believer that we need to make sure that we utilize student data, right? So like, it's the whole idea of cluster is cyclical, right? So making sure that you bring back student data to ensure that drives on your next cluster, right? It's really, really important. And so I wanted to make sure that I did a little push on that PLC, because as a superintendent for Somerton, I'm bringing some components for restructuring cluster and professional development for our teachers. They've had great professional development teams within Somerton, but I think restructuring really what a PLC should look like to ensure that cyclical momentum happens really affects what's happening in the classroom, and supporting the teacher with layered best practices is really, really important. And the reason I bring it up right now when I'm talking about my dissertation is because I feel that that's what our teachers need in the classroom, to ensure that not only are students getting the language component, but also the content that is really, really important.
It's important stuff. And what a learning curve for me. When my first 3 schools, I led 4. So my first 3, they were pretty much African-American. But my 4th had a 30% Latino population, with 25% being ELL learners. And obviously my teachers were very much more conversant than I was because of my background. But I had so much learning to do in a school that I stayed at for 6 years. So there was a lot for me to learn that I didn't have in my background before. So I say that to say, if there are leaders out here and you've got populations of children who don't look like you, right? And that's probably all of you, right? There's somebody in there. I'll just pose it as a rhetorical question. What are you doing to ensure that the reality of that youngster in your school is an equitable reality based on who I am, the shoes that I walk in every day, right? And I had to learn that, that in terms of my ELL students. There was a lot for me to learn over those 6 years, right? But I think I became, within my leadership capacity, proficient enough that I could feel good about who I was versus what I came in as not a first year principal, but my first year in that school over that time, right? So just wanted to throw that out there. Let me stay with you, Omar. And I got a question I'm going to ask everybody, but I want to start with you since you got the mic in your hand right now. When you look at the fullness of Omar Duron, let's compartmentalize just the education component of you. Your elevator speech to someone, they say, as an educator, who is Omar Duron? What would you say?
He is a learner.
As an educator. Go ahead.
As an educator, I'm a learner. There's nothing that I don't take on a daily basis that I consider a learning opportunity. And I really think that that's the reason why I've been able to had have all these particular roles in my professional career is because I've been able to be open-minded about learning opportunities for myself that I can take in and be able to turn around and, provide a learning opportunity for someone else. So to me, in education, I am a learner.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm the same way. Like I said, I traveled with, they sitting here, I traveled with books, right? I just can't not learn something. Let me go to Andrew. Same question. Who is Andrew Rebello?
Yeah, such a good question, right? If I had to define it in one word, I would say courageous. You don't get in this job to be liked by everybody. I'll tell you that right now. And if you are, then I would say you're potentially doing something wrong. You got to be courageous in this role to make the tough decisions, and to keep the main thing, and that's growing our students. So I would say courageous and somebody that's passionate about students being life ready upon graduation. So yeah, I would say those two things. And just one nugget that's just sticking with me from our your last question, Principal Kafele, and that's the more they see you, the more they trust you. And I guess that that applies to this question too, about being a courageous leader, somebody that's not scared to make the tough decisions. Put yourself out there, be out there. The more they see you, the more they trust you. I'm thinking about our teachers, right? Who a lot of the time are very oppositional to anything new, right? Any change, right? We can all say that, change is tough for everyone. So the more you're out there, the more you're side by side leading your schools and your districts, the more they'll trust you.
Love it. Trust, that matters. And that word courageous. Yeah, I agree with you. How can we lead, but we lack courage? Courage to lead doesn't mean we have to be out there being overly aggressive or anything of that nature. Just having the courage to lead, having the courage to try something different, to try something new. And we can go on and on with that, but that word courageous, it matters. Let me go to Dr. Walker. Same question. As an educator, who are you? What would you say to someone who asked you, who is Dr. Johnny Walker?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that great question. So I'm a passionate believer in what can happen for students when the adults in the building believe in them and do everything that they can to ensure their success. I believe that, you have to have those adults in the building who's willing to go the extra mile for students. And I'm one of those individuals, and I like to surround myself with people who are that same way, because we know that kids can achieve extraordinary things whenever they're put in the right environment. So I believe in fostering an environment where students can excel.
Love it. Love it. And my last question before we go to these talking points and take a deeper dive, Dr. Walker, talk to us about that day when you were sitting in either your gym or your auditorium or your cafeteria, and you didn't really know what in the world was going on. You kind of had an idea, but yet you didn't. And all of a sudden, your name was called as the Milken recipient. Talk to us about that moment.
Wow. I'll never forget April 4th, 2024. It goes down as one of the best days of my life. It was a strange day.
Yeah.
Moving parts, especially as principal. And I've heard others that, they were principal when they were notified. Just, you're supposed to be the one in charge, but you have the least information on what's happening. Dr. Foley was here with me that day doing my notification. I mean, she's a whippersnapper.
Yeah.
Moving chairs. I mean, just directing the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think me and her held hands more than any. But yeah, I just will never forget that moment. Just to hear my name, and I'll be honest with you, whenever I knew something was happening, we had Commissioner Marath, our state commissioner here of the Board of Education. He was here. He shared a beautiful speech. Something I thought, really it was just about sharing on the growth of our campus. Dr. Foley was here, like I said, lots of energy in the room, and you always think, okay, it could have been several other teachers in the room getting whatever this is. But just to hear my name, it was amazing. It just reminded me of the faithfulness of God, that even when, people don't know the sacrifice that you put in to make sure that your school excels. When they don't struggle, and quite frankly, the tears, the frustration, God knows the work that we are doing. And so I just really want that to reverberate across, social media, because I know there are lots of educators. Maybe, your voice hasn't been elevated. Maybe you haven't received the awards that you deserve. Know that your work matters. And so, Principal Kafele, I've heard you mention that moment for you, your notification was a time of redemption.
That's right.
I think that rings so true with a lot of us, right. Those of us who are doing turnaround work. Man, the daggers fly when you go in and have to move people's cheese, and you have to shift culture, you have to shift systems. And so I share in that it was a moment of redemption, also a moment of inspiration. My students had never seen reporters out and lights, cameras, action the way they were. They still talk about that. And so our students to see that if this can happen for a little country boy from Benton, Louisiana, it can happen for me here in my rural school. And so we're still really riding that wave of that energy that it brought to our campus that day.
Wow. Good stuff. Andrew, same question. Talk to us about that moment.
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments, right? So, as a principal, part of our job is being an operational leader, right? So I'm thinking, all right, we got to get all the kids in here by 9:23, and the presentation will start at 9:25, and we got to get them out by 9:45 because lunch is starting at. So my mind's going through that. I'm thinking, our school's getting recognized for our state scores and the growth we've seen. But quickly it was, all right, thinking about all the incredible teachers that we have in our school and who it could be. And to this day, it's still a blur. It's like one of those things that you look back and you're like, was that me? What did I say? What happened? Because it is a blur. But upon reflection, right, this is one of those moments where you get home and you finally have quiet. Your ears are ringing like you just left a Drake concert almost. So you get home. And you got that quiet and you're just kind of sitting there and thinking and reflecting. For me, I keep going back to words, right? But a word was vindication, right? Vindication for doing the right thing at the right time, surrounded by the right people. It was vindication for stepping up against the protectors of the status quo. I think everybody on this call is getting a sense of kind of the dynamics that I had to go through politically and with the unions and the issues of being at a school with over 50% high needs. It was vindication that, okay, the past 3.5, 4 years was a grind. It was tough, but wow, I feel vindicated that we are headed in the right direction. And to echo Dr. Walker, I mean, you're completely right. It's not about the accolades. It's about the work, and it's about doing the right thing at the right time. And it's always the right time.
I love it. Omar, same question. That moment.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was, I got married a month before my notification, and that day was amazing. And I told my spouse this other day also rivals our wedding day because it was so special, honestly. Again, I was a principal. I was told obviously very little. The state superintendent was coming down to speak to our kids. And so I just needed to make sure that I was available to ensure that was going to happen. And then I do see Mr. Milken coming in, all, celebrities to me, right? All these important people coming in.
Did you know who he was?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes, because of the work of NIET.
Okay.
Involved in. Yeah. But I never followed, I never connected I'll be honest with you, the award with Milken, the Milken sir, right? And I was so preoccupied to ensure that things were happening the right way. I needed to follow a script and all this good stuff that when he stepped up and started, kind of sharing the reason as to why he was there, I was so happy to just be in the presence of him and the way he was speaking about the person who's going to come in and receive this award for the great work that they've done in education. And like Andrew said, I thought of 3, 4, 5 teachers that could potentially get this particular award. And I was just excited for them. So when they mentioned my name, when he mentioned my name, I was like, this is this is not, this is a joke, right? This is not me. So I think I kept on saying like, this is crazy. This is crazy. And I think a blurb, it's, under one of my pictures is that this is crazy, because it really, really was. And for me, it's validation, but not validation of me. It's not about my accolade. It was a validation of the work that needed to happen, not only at Southwest, which is where I was a principal at that time, to get to the point where we were at, from a low C to an A, just the connections that we needed to do with all stakeholders to make sure that we understood the purpose as to what needed to happen to ensure that we move our kids forward. Just the work that the entire district of Gadsden was doing for the community of San Luis was huge. So the validation of our community was what it really just kind of resonated with me as I was receiving, the award. And like Andrew said, as I was driving home that day, I remember crying. I was in tears, thinking like, wow, this is amazing for my students. This is amazing for my community. And, just to be able to share this with them was very, very special, honestly.
Yeah. I guess, there are 3,000 now Milken recipients. Wow. And I guess of the 3,000 of us over the years, I think since 1987, if I'm correct. Yeah, I guess the 3,000, we've all had that drive home saying, this is crazy. So I know I did, it's like, what just happened? Yeah. You wake up in the morning and you're expecting, your normal day, but there'll be something different every day, obviously, but not that. Right. So, my school was so wired after that we had to suspend instruction. We had, because we were finished with that gym at about 11, I guess. And the teacher said the kids are just amped. I mean, I didn't know I had that kind of love in the building. I knew I had love. I didn't know it was like the kids were excited for me, And I said, all right, no more. Forget teaching today. Just have fun, right? So and that's what it was, So I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget it. Let's move on. Let me rearrange my screen here. And we jump into for the fam out there, as the regulars know, I ask my guests to give me 2 or 3 points that you're just passionate about, that you would want to talk about, as opposed to me just asking my own generated questions that may not necessarily speak to something that you would want to convey at an academy, because that's what this is, right? So that's where we are now. So let me go right to Andrew, where he said, life ready mission. And you alluded to this, and I purposely didn't ask you to expound because I knew it was coming. But life ready mission, the importance of infusing life ready topics into education, such as financial literacy, critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and probably etc. Right? What are you saying to us with this particular talking point? And
sure. I think, as educators, we have a duty so far beyond just teaching our students academically and growing them academically. It's about getting them ready for life. Because I'll tell you, we all have situations in our own lives or things that have contributed to our passion for this work. But you see it. If somebody, leaves high school or graduates even, and that light bulb hasn't gone off, doesn't mean that you need to know exactly what you want to do. But if you don't have the skills necessary to progress your life or obtain your goals or even have goals, your life is going to be tougher because of it, right? So if we can prepare the next generation of students, and in my eyes, and from my school and my district, it's preparing the next generation workforce. And how we do that is through a life-ready mission. Right? We're not asking kids to know exactly what they want to do, but if they can obtain the necessary skills, the foundational skills, while we have them, they will be better off in life because of it. So some of those things that are incredibly important, right? Problem solving, communication, critical thinking. How are we infusing those things into education, whether it's an English class, whether it's in plumbing, their plumbing shop? How are the tasks in those lessons, right? Making them think critically, problem solve, right? Communicate. And if we can replicate that in every domain and every subject across the school, they're going to start developing those skills. So when it's time to sit in an interview, they can look someone in the eye, right? They can think critically about problems. Because I tell you right now, anybody on this call, anybody right now in general knows where the world of work is going in 10 years. I'll call that person a liar, because right now the world is moving so fast. But what are the foundational skills that will never go away in our work or in our future work? It's those life-ready skills. And that's the critical thinking, problem solving. So for the leaders on this call, I want to think, how are we infusing those things into our lessons? And that's just good learning, right? Look at the science of learning, right? How do you create true retainment of subjects and grow academically? It's through some of those things where we can truly retain material and subject matter. It's the critical thinking, problem solving, those skills. And then with that, how are you in your schools, the other necessary components? And I put financial literacy in there because there isn't, and right now more than ever, where things cost more than ever, you can put yourself in a real hole, with debt, if not making smart financial decisions. How are we doing the other components of getting them ready for life? So it's not just the thinking, the intellectual part, but the real life ready part, where that's financial literacy classes, civics projects, and civically minded, right? Because I think that is the true foundation of education, right? And I would argue that, education is the true protector of our democracy. And if we don't intentionally go about this work and just show up and this is the book that they need to learn and go through it that way, then that's just a canned educational practice where, think differently, but think what our kids actually need for your communities. For ours, it was getting them ready for life.
I want to stay with you with financial literacy. I will not state that I was financially literate as a student in school, as a pre-K to 12th grade student. I wasn't. And I probably really wasn't during my undergrad days. It was later on that I learned that money can work for you while you're asleep. Talk to us about your feelings as to why financial literacy is absent in so many different places as it relates to schools.
Yeah, that's
and its implications for its absence.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, right now, I think there's only 25 states that mandate financial literacy as a graduation requirement, right? 25 out of 50. Why is that?
Yeah.
Right? Why isn't it across the board? And I think that other priorities take place, whether that's textbook companies lobbying legislatures to make sure that we're going to teach this subject, or one type of philosophy is more important than another. But I think, if we look at, the reasons why, certain people or graduates in general aren't successful upon graduation in life, then I would look at their financial acumen and why they're being set behind. And if we're not teaching kids and students life-ready components upon graduating, we're setting back a whole generation. So I think it takes all the way from the school level to the legislature about making this important. Obviously, 25 states have mandated it. I have an article coming out in the NASSP magazine about financial literacy where I dive into the importance of why it's so important. And it can literally set someone back years in their lives financially, where it's just a component of adulthood, right? Everybody on this call knows the importance of spending your money wisely, being savvy about understanding debt, because right now more than ever, financials are a huge part of adulthood. And they always will be.
Always will be. So important. So important. Let me go to Johnny. Let me go back to my screen here. And Dr. Walker, you sent me a lot, which I'm probably going to bring you back at some point so we can delve deeper into those, because we don't have time to get to all of them. But for school improvement, you indicated three things. You said on the screen, determining high leverage actions that will drive success. But you also, just for the benefit of the fam out there, the audience, I want to read the other two under school improvement. Root cause analysis, improvement, science, principle number 3, fully understanding the system that produces the result, positive or negative. And then you had implementation design for improving failing systems. And then plan, do, study, act. A lot there. The one I highlighted for us today was determining high leverage actions that will drive success. First, before I go to my question, talk to us. What are you saying?
Yes, sir. Again, improvement science is all about, one of Dr. Anthony Burke, in conjunction with the Carnegie Foundation. He wrote a book with several principles for improvement science, relatively new part of education. But principle 3 that really stood out to me was understanding the system that produces the result. So, for instance, if you're going into a new school as a new principal, first you have to understand the system that's producing these results. Sometimes you think, I'm just going to jump in and do this because it worked in another context. But when you really start thinking about improvement, what worked down the street may not work for your school. So you have to get in there and fully understand what's causing either this system to fail or this system to succeed. Before you can put in any type of innovation, anything that's moved the school forward, I need to fully understand. And that can come through many ways. Quantitative data, results, teacher attendance, student attendance, all those things, discipline. But you also need that qualitative piece as well, meeting with teachers, meeting with the community, different stakeholders to see who is this school? What is making up this culture of this school before I can really implement something that's going to try to move the school forward. So really diving deep to understand who is this school, who are the people that make up this school, what's this community, who is this community, before I can really move forward. And so that was really important for us, because when you think about different challenges, you have technical challenges and you have adaptive challenges. Technical challenges tend to be easily to resolve. Your adaptive challenges they require a little bit more thought and a lot more planning, and that makes up school improvement. Technical fixes will be something like you might say students are not turning in work, but when you start really digging deep, that's why I added that piece about root cause analysis. Why are kids not turning in their work? Okay, you might say they're bored. Why are they bored? Because of low engagement in the classroom. Why is there low engagement in the classroom? Maybe that teacher, you start seeing, maybe that teacher's not bringing culturally competent material before them. Maybe the teacher's not fully planned out. You just really start digging deeper and deeper and deeper. Because if you don't, you're just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. Yeah. We want to bring healing to the situation. We want to begin to turn that corner. And so that's why I'm so passionate about even the role of the IoT. That's really that guiding coalition for a school when it comes to really having their hand on the pulse of what's happening in that school. Because, before you can really implement something that's going to bring some real change or move the needle for kids, you got to think about, how are we going to bring this to the table? Yeah. Normally, innovation fails at that implementation design level. If we don't implement it the right way, if we don't design that implementation to roll out the right way, it will fail. And so that's what I'm really passionate about. Stepping back from even being a principal or anything, you have to see what needs to be done first, and that's going to drive the success on my campus. So thinking about, how am I going to implement this particular innovation that's going to solve this targeted problem here on my campus to see growth.
You in listening to you, it brought back so many thoughts and memories that I want to put out there to just to add to what you just said, to support what you just said. I remember leaving a school to go somewhere else, and the person that became my successor was like me in terms of my outlook. educationally and beyond. So in terms of the culture of the school, and I always say the culture of a building is reflective of the leadership of the building, right? So the culture was a reflection of who I was, how I led, all that kind of stuff. So it was easy for my successor to walk in there and sustain the culture, sustain the systems. And back in those days, quite frankly, we weren't even using the word systems. But I know as we use it now, I know that which we had in place, we would call them systems now. So, but I want to contrast that with, I leave a school and I'm not allowed to participate in the hiring of the successor, of my successor. So now I know that this culture is deeply entrenched. It's 6 years now. I know that there's a culture there that's only there because I was there, right? So now I'm not going to participate because he felt like my personality was too dominant for me to be one of the interviewers, right? So they removed me from that. So now you put somebody in there who wants to bring about change, but the culture is so deeply rooted that you can't change that overnight. It's going to take time. So in other words, it contradicts everything you just said, right? Everything, and that's why I said I wanted to say it. Everything you just said, because if you're going to bring somebody in, then there's got to be a time when I can learn what's already here, because what's already here may not need to be disrupted,
right?
Just built upon, so it can evolve into whatever this is that you have, whatever your vision may be, but not to dismantle what's already there if it was working, right? So when you said what you said, it just made me think of all that, right? If we're really about sustaining progress, then that relationship between the new principal and the old principal it's got to be there,
right,
in order to make that transition that much smoother. And we know that in the world of sports and so many other things, it's the same thing, right? Unless we're talking about a losing team. But in this case, that's not what we're talking about. So I just wanted to throw that out there because what you said was so profound as it related to those experiences that I had in leadership. Let me keep moving as I'm looking at the clock, and I see that we definitely going to be long. Let me go back to my other screen and go to Omar. And you said you gave me, let me give the fam the backdrop. You got this wheel of the 3 C's: yes. Connect, collaborate, and communicate. So I broke it up into the 3 component parts, and I wanted to start with connect. And yes. And you said connecting hearts, minds, and opportunities to empower every student's educational journey. Talk to us.
Thank you, sir. Yes. So, in preparation to stepping into the superintendent position, I wanted to reflect back on all my years as an educator, and I really wanted to bring a framework to my experience in the new district that that I felt impacted me in all the roles that I sustained, right? So for me, connecting, collaborating, communication was really, really strong in all the roles that I've held. And I felt that there were successful components in my career that I wanted to bring on into my new district. And so all of them are very important, but the connection component it's huge. Connecting from the classroom all the way to the teacher, all the way to making sure that there's connection among all stakeholders. And now at the superintendent level, making sure that I'm connecting not only with the school site administrators, the district level administration. I also connect closely with, like I said earlier, with all my students and living in the same community and where I work, I have a strong connection to my community as well. In order to make a difference, you have to make sure that you're connecting. I always go back to when I was in the classroom, in order to make an impact on students, you needed to find a way to connect with them. And knowing that I shared their cultural background for all of my students, I had that availability, right, to make a connection that I would be able to say, you're going to be okay. And there were moments where I would have students who spoke no English, and I would say, tú vas a estar bien. You are going to be okay. Just listen, just follow along. And, with time you will get there. And so just with having those tiny connections with students, connecting to, to their culture, knowing their songs, knowing their celebrations, that would get your students to your side. And that's when the magic happens in the classroom. And I'll be honest with you, that's been something that I held closely to me, the idea of connecting. When I was a principal, that first year as a principal, and I'm doing that this year as a superintendent, but my first year as a principal, I didn't care about the data. Yeah, I had it in my mind and I knew how to move our school from a C to an A. But for me, connecting with all my teachers, with all my students, with the community itself was priority for me. Once I felt that strong connection happening, we would sit down in cluster and say, okay, now together we're going to analyze the data. You see what I mean? It wasn't a top bottom, it was a parallel. When you connect with someone, it is a parallel connection that allows the learning to happen without any sort of boundaries or restrictions. So I hold that deeply. This past school year as a superintendent, that's been my role. I'll appear in a school all of a sudden, and I'll just talk to the secretaries, I'll talk to the principals, I'll talk to the maintenance, custodian. I'll talk to everyone because I want to make sure that I understand. I want to get involved as much as I can in all of the rules that exist within a district, because for me right now is making connections with everyone and learning from everyone. You brought something that was really important, Dr. Walker, the idea of understanding the system that produces the results. This year, like I've been asked, like, so what is your vision, right? So the vision for me this year is in work in progress. This is my first year as a superintendent, and I'm building that vision as I'm going. Yes, I know the direction. Yes, I know what's good for students and for our teachers, but this particular year, I'm learning from Somerton. I'm learning from my district to understand what has been working and what can we build upon. And all of that, I think it really centers it on connecting with everyone, with all the stakeholders that are involved in our community. So that's my connection.
Let me ask you a question. I guess I'm personalizing, and I'm speaking to all the disconnected, maybe introverted, shy youngsters who are dealing with trauma and therefore detached. What about that youngster? And I could go on and on with, I think I painted a pretty good picture. What about that youngster who has all this potential, but just for whatever the reasons, I'm just not attached or connected to what goes on in my school. How do you reach that youngster? And let me say this to you, Omar. I'm him. Right. And I think the three of you know that. I'm him. I'm the 5 years of high school. I'm the 4 different schools. I'm the failing everything. I'm the didn't go to school, didn't do anything for the next 5 years after high school. Enrolled in junior college, but sat in the student center and played around all day, and did that for 5 years, and then go to undergrad and graduate summa cum laude. I'm him. What do you say relative from your capacity of superintendent? What do you say about how we connect with that kid, not knowing what's inside? But if we could just help him to tap into it, there may be greatness in there waiting to be unleashed. What are your thoughts?
That's a great question, because I'm also him. You know what I mean? So I think it's easier to identify someone who has gone through major traumas in their lives, bullying, whatever circumstances that were difficult for them. It's easy. For me, it's easy to make that connection with students that, at points are shy or are introverted or closed off. What I say to that is that you need to respect the student from the get-go. I think you need to make sure that you establish a sense of respect. How? Making sure that you're asking questions. If he doesn't respond, it's not a personal thing. It's you as an educator continuing to be present for that student and trying to be a role model for that student. And it really is in the small details. If I was a teacher dealing with a student that, was closed off, it's me just sitting by the student and understanding, asking him questions. I always, as an introverted person myself, like the idea of wanting to make sure that I want to talk to other people is by asking questions, right? So for me, sitting with a student and asking questions, you will figure out their interests. You will figure out a niche to go in and really make a difference in that student. And it'll click. It'll be that time where the student is going to now look up and take notes as you're writing on the board. You will make a difference. But for me, is making sure that you are respecting the process, respecting the student, and understanding that it takes a little time.
Yeah, take some time, but got to put forth that time.
Yes.
And you know, I know the word equity is a boogeyman in a lot of places. However, you know, when using my own definition, meeting young people where they are as they are, I don't know what part of that word is so bad, so detrimental that we don't want it in the school. Meeting children where they are as they are. Well, that's me. And if somebody had just met me where I was, as I was, I who knows? I mean, if I graduated summa cum laude in undergrad school, maybe I was the valedictorian and didn't know it. Maybe I was the salutatorian and didn't know it. If I wasn't those two things, at least maybe I was an honor roll student, right? But no one tapped into me to help me, to show me how to unleash it so that I could fly. So with that word, and let me put your information back up here. With that word connect, that connection wasn't made, right? The only place in a very tangible way that I could say a connection was made for me, and I'm saying this for the fam out there because there's a young Principal Kafele in every one of your schools, was in my 5th year as a senior and 2nd semester, and a coach saying, why don't you try the long jump? And in track and field, and I had never done anything remotely related to track and field in my life. But on the day of the first track meet, he said, why don't you try this? And I said, I don't do this. He said, just try the long jump. Well, what does that comprise of? Of course, that wasn't my word back then. What is it? What do you do? Right. So so he said, just run down that runway right there and jump into the sand. And I run down the runway and jump into the sand, and I become one of the state's top long jumpers, right? And Carl Lewis and I are jumping the same distance in high school, but he went on and became who he became, and I never jumped another day in my life after I graduated from high school, right? So he tapped into me. So I was walking around feeling good about myself, you know, but had somebody tapped into me on the academic side, but you can't just tap. And this ain't my show. This is y'all's. Let me help and stop talking. But you can't tap into somebody if you're not somebody, right? You have to matter if you're gonna connect with me. And if you don't matter, if your words don't matter, you don't matter, then you may be saying the right things, but going back to Dr. Walker, that trust is not there. That credibility is not there. That knowledge is not there. You see, I memorized that, Doc.
Yes, sir.
It's not there. So therefore, you mean well, but I don't trust you. You don't have credibility in my eyes, and you don't seem to have the knowledge of how to connect with me. Woo!
Yeah.
We could do the whole session just on that.
Amen, right? You can't grow the mind, the heart you first did not touch, right? So if those relationships aren't there, if you're not building that trust, we're not going to connect with kids, right? It's about peeling back the layers and getting to every kid.
Yeah. Hey, Marco French, man. I know, man, I slept. I keep up with you on social media. So I see you with a smile. So I know things are good. But we still need to connect. Y'all know that's one of our brothers.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. No, he is. I see you smiling. I see them videos. So I said, okay, well, he don't need me. So I just check you out from afar, and I say he's doing real good. Yes, sir. All right, now let's jump back into it. Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second, because I've been putting so much on the screen here. Where we at? We at I don't know where we are. Here we are, number 4. Andrew, That's why we go 2 and 3 hours, y'all. Meeting foundational needs before learning can occur. Starting a school-based health center. Talk to us.
Yeah, and this is a great segue to my point, right? Even meeting those foundational needs, like I alluded to earlier, in a community with over 50% high needs, if we're not meeting those kids' foundational needs, right, they're not going to come to school ready to learn. We all can name, countless kids that we've had or have currently that are in these situations where they're coming to school not ready to learn, whether that's because of a tough personal life or home life or family life or not having food at home. We can all say this is a foundational part of our work. Those foundational needs, if they're not met, they're not going to be ready to learn. So like every school, we were dealing with a high chronic absenteeism rate coming out of COVID. Everyone nationwide is dealing with this, right? So we sought after to diagnose why this is happening. And from our surveys, from our task force, from our meetings, one of the things that came out from parents, from our community is that there was not adequate access to healthcare, right? There were long wait times for these parents who had to miss work to bring their child to school. So one of the things we looked at was, okay, so how can we combat this if some of our population, some of our community does not have healthcare? Others are, okay, Johnny, you're going to stay home because, I can't miss work. I can't afford to bring you to the doctor right now. Those are all things that came up through our surveys. So what we did was we started a school-based health center. Down in Washington, the Department of Health has grant funding up to $250,000 a year for schools to start their own school-based health center. So with that in mind, we approached a local community health center in our city, and together we started a school-based health center. What does that mean? We have a doctor, an MD, on campus 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. every single day. So students can get that next level of care without having to miss school. And through this grant, there are no copays associated with it. So if a student does not have health insurance, through that provider, they're able to use the grant funding and use their positioning to make sure those students' needs are met. So we started a school-based health center. This took over a year to get done. Talk about red tape. Talk about the Department of Health coming in saying this is not an adequate space, to us developing it, finding funds to do it. So that's just one avenue. I think the deeper part here is really meeting kids where they are, meeting those foundational needs. But it takes knowing your kids, takes going after and seeking how they are doing, not letting it come to you, and finding those students and meeting their foundational needs so they can come to school ready to learn, whether that's through food, whether that's through connection at school, whether it's through choice opportunity, or just having an adult that they can trust in the building. So we all know if there are no trust or kids don't feel safe, no learning will occur. And this is all kind of the root of foundational needs for our kids.
Wow. Talk to us about the of how the program has been received overall.
Yeah, so I think it's been received really well. I think like when you start a new initiative to start, there's always some, relative apprehension to it. But over time, parents, students have signed up. It's when things come up, right? So, now my child's sick. All right, let's do the waiver. Let's get him. Let's catch them then, and really continuing to promote it. We talked about, at the beginning of this, promoting initiatives in your school. This is something that we had our foot on the gas for, to make sure every family knew that they could take advantage of it. So now I'm a student. I go to the nurse's office. All right, you need to be seen. You need that approval from the doctor before you can come back. Great. There's a 10 o'clock slot down the hall with this doctor. As long as we have that waiver, that student's not missing school. They're just going down the hall to see the doctor. And everything from physicals to issues with student health. Starting that school-based health center was transformational. Wow. And we saw the effect, right? This is all about student outcomes. right? If you're not leading with, okay, how is this initiative affecting student outcomes? How is this thing that we did with students affecting student outcomes? If you're not continually doing that, then you're missing a huge piece of this work. So, we had about, I think it was 16% chronically absentee. After a year of this program, it went down to 8%. So that was part of the contributions to getting kids back in school more, so we can teach them.
It's good stuff. And that all came through a grant.
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Let me keep moving in the interest of time. Let me go back to Dr. Walker. You said you wrote as a heading, improving student outcomes through strong campus instructional leadership development. And then you gave us these 3 components. I want to read all 3. Principal as a capacity builder for the instructional leadership team. That's number 1. Number 2, the one that I have on the screen, trust, credibility, and knowledge, critical components for powerful observation and feedback and teacher support. And then number 3, the instructional leadership team leading from the core to improve instructional practices to ultimately enhance student achievement and foster a positive increased teacher effectiveness. Instead of me trying to box you into that one with the trust, credibility, and knowledge, as we've talked about a couple of times here, I want you to just feel free to run with it however you want to, with combining the 3, however you want to do it. Floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Principal Kafela.
Yes, sir.
So again, going back to our partnership with NIET, one of the first structures that they helped us really develop as a district, and a big shout out to my Winona ISD family, Mr. Miller, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Corns, Curriculum Director, and my instructional leadership team, everyone. But one of the big key players that NIET helped us really develop was the instructional leadership team. Before, it was kind of just on the principal to make it happen. But as you know, the principal does not have to have all the answers. They have some answers, but one person can't do it alone. That's so really developing that strong instructional leadership team where you have voice from teachers. You can even have different district people on your instructional leadership team that can help you really run the vision and make it plain. So for us, there are 4 questions that really guide our instructional leadership team. I'm gonna go through those quickly. So how do we know if all students are growing academically toward meeting their growth? Also, we want to ask, what evidence do we have that all teachers are increasing their capacity to analyze student work through reflection and make differentiated instructional decisions to meet the needs of students? We also think about what tells me that we are providing the opportunity for strong collaboration and professional growth. And lastly, what evidence do we have to show that teachers are making progress in their instructional capacity? So those 4 questions really guide our instructional leadership team. And like I mentioned in that last piece, that the instructional leadership team is really that guiding coalition that leads from the core, that we keep our hands on the pulse of the campus, what's going on, what's not happening that we want to see. And so I put in that first piece, principal as capacity builder. I recognize that one of my greatest jobs is to build capacity in those around me. One of the things I really believe is that leaders go first, and kind of going back to that trust, credibility, knowledge. When my instructional team sees me leading professional learning, that builds those 3 things for them. They see that I'm not just making these ad hoc mandates from my ivory tower, but I can't do those things. Yeah. They see me as a person and telling them to go coach teachers, but I can't coach a teacher. Mm-hmm. So just building that capacity through IoT. Again, going back to those 5 steps for effective
learning.
Making sure that development piece is there, that modeling piece is there. So as a principal, I can model writing a lesson plan. I can model building an effective assessment. So being that capacity builder, and it builds that trust, credibility, and knowledge around that. I also think IoT is really powerful for doing those observations. Yeah. When we go into a classroom, I remember leading an IoT around going into a classroom. We're not going into a classroom empty-handed. We're going in or just to hang out. We're going in, that while that can happen, we're going in to collect data. We're going in to collect data on what students are doing, what the teacher's doing, what questions or the teacher asking? What questions are the students asking? So we're going in, we're collecting data on what's the objective for that lesson. What's the materials being used? What's the student work? How is that particular objective being assessed? And so I want to challenge school leaders out there. If you don't do anything, think about alignment when you go into a classroom. One of the biggest things that I saw when I came into this turnaround situation, there was no alignment between the objectives, the standards, and what the work that was being put before students, and then the state assessment. So students they felt like they were being tricked when they got to that state test because they had not seen the depth and the rigor of those questions in that daily instruction. And so even if school leaders, if you don't do anything when you go into a classroom, think about what is the alignment of that objective and those standards to the work that's being put in front of students doing that independent practice, and how is it being assessed, and does it meet the rigor at which it's going to be assessed on that state test. So that was really big for me. And so whenever we're coaching teachers, we think about what's one thing that would help level this teacher up. You know, a lot of times teachers are a little dreadful of principals and school leaders coming into their classroom because they already know they're going to come in looking for the negative thing. So one of the things that we started doing is strengths-based coaching. I'm sorry. Let me say that again. Strengths-based coaching, where we go in and find one good thing that the teacher's doing. And that's what we're going to talk to them about. And we're going to see how can we level that up to increase student outcomes. And that really changed the culture on our campus, that teachers felt like, you know, this wasn't an I got you, but it was an I got you as in I'm here to support you.
Yeah.
And so really using that strategy to build that trust, that credibility and knowledge for teachers. And one last thing I want to say around that point is we really build that trust and that knowledge with teachers when we can give them that one essential action step that's going to move them further. You know, sometimes as coaches, we go in with all the things that teachers need to change. Just hit them with one. Find that high leverage thing that's going to move students further and provide them with an action step around that.
Love it. You know, the whole idea of trust, credibility, and knowledge, for me, as I was preparing, it begs an important skill:
right.
Verbal and nonverbal communication.
Wow.
Talk to us about the significance of strong communication skill as it relates to effectiveness as an instructional leader.
Right. You know, a part of that is building purpose for people. When you're communicating, you're building purpose and you're setting purpose for the work that we're doing. You know, just like for students, if we don't build purpose for students, they're not apt to buy in. When we don't, same thing with teachers. When we don't build purpose for teachers, they're not going to buy in. So being a strong communicator is really important. And bringing the right people to the table, doing that communication piece is important. And it's more than just an email. It's that communication when you're just walking down the hallway and you have a little chat with the teacher about what's going on today, what you have good happening, what are kids learning. It's that communication even with students. Every morning during our morning announcements, I'm asking 3 questions. What are you learning today? What's the purpose of your learning? And lastly, how will I know when I've learned it? And so I challenge students to every time they go into a classroom, they're trying to find answers to those 3 questions. And that really levels up teachers because they know that kids are coming with answers for these questions. Every day, students need to walk away with something.
Yeah.
So that communication is so important. Communicating the vision, not just at the beginning of the school year, but throughout the year, that we're communicating the goals of the campus. When students are meeting growth, we're communicating that. We're not waiting to testing time to talk about those things. So that those open lines of communication, that open line of access where teachers can have those discussions. And I think cluster is a powerful time where communication is important. That we're being transparent about our expectations for this campus. We're being transparent about our expectations for student growth. So communication is definitely powerful for making sure the vision comes to pass.
I appreciate that. Strong stuff. Brother Omar, that second of the connect, collaborate, and communicate. So collaborate, you indicated, collaborate to innovate. building stronger learning communities through shared knowledge and collective growth. The floor is yours. What are you saying to us?
Collaboration really is the base of effective learning, and I need to second what Dr. Walker said. I come from a heavy NIET district. Gaston has been implementing NIET for the past 13 years. Somerton is not, but we are currently working in an area with NIET that supports our instructional service department, including our school level coaches. And collaboration really comes to mind because of the work that I experienced through NIET in the different roles that I had within NIET as a career teacher, mentor, and master teacher. Collaboration really is a parallel work between individuals within a team. It's not an up and down. It really is sitting down at the table and really talking about what is the effectiveness that we need to identify to ensure that we support our teachers. Cluster is the best way to ensure that collaboration is happening. If you truly follow the 5 steps of effective learning, everything is spelled out for you and really able to incorporate things that are allowing everyone to bring something to the table to ensure that you roll it out back into the classroom. The collaboration for me within the Somerton School District back in July when we first started really was sitting down and understanding where all of our schools were at in regards to their data, and in no way sitting with them and saying, your school is low, your school is high. It was more like, let's look at all the components that this letter grade, I'm sure other states have it too, but as a state of Arizona, we grade our schools through a letter grade system. And so I wanted the principals to really understand and dig deeper. They understood the components of the letter grade, but I wanted them to go deeper and really look at names, look at faces of students that were either supporting the letter grade or were not necessarily making gains. And so for me, the idea of collaborating was really sitting down and just breaking it down together, not telling them what to do, but really opening their eyes to what's out there for them. And that the collaboration, that concept really can fit in any role that any one of us here can really attain, or anyone within your district can attain. So for me, this is a heavy one. This is one that I've been working on for the past 6-7 months with my new district, and I think it's making an impact.
Instead of me moving on, let me stay with you, Omar, and let's just bring in that third component: communicating with purpose, bridging gaps, and fostering unity among students, educators, and the entire community. Go ahead and expound on that one.
Communicate is key, right? So coming in, making sure that everyone is on the same page in regards to any sort of changes within the district, communication must be in place. I always think about all the stakeholders that really make a difference in the education of our students. And if I am not communicating with them, then I'm not doing my job. I really believe that communication often is key, not only with parents, with our teachers, obviously with our administration, to ensure that everyone is solid in regards to the school level goals, which really encompass the district level goals. This year, the communication between our district and our community has been stronger now. Our schools are very good at, Facebook messages and making sure that the parents understand, the things that are happening. And we have all these platforms which communication is strong, but it wasn't as stronger as it is now. And I'm really excited because you can see now the connection between our schools and our community a little stronger. And that is definitely something that is successful to ensure that our students do an amazing job.
Appreciate that. Good stuff. Anybody want to jump in on any of that? I should have said that to you a lot earlier with each of your talking points, but I failed to say it. But anybody, if not, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go to Johnny, then I'm gonna come back to you, Andrew. Dr. Walker, I should say. Your subtitle was teacher clarity and student ownership, and then you gave us these 3 points. Developing key structures that ensure teachers are diving into state standards to better grasp the depth and complexity of the student learning expectation. Then you went on and said, number 2, success criteria, a roadmap to success and a pathway for student ownership. And number 3, strategies to guarantee assessment ready scholars. I know we talked about a lot of this, but go ahead and sum up and again, you don't feel boxed into the one I have on the screen.
Yes,
Go ahead
sir.
and talk about that teacher clarity and student ownership.
Yes, sir. So, teacher clarity is one of those things that we really elevated here on this campus, where teachers are clear about what they're teaching. Therefore, students can be clear about what they're learning. That was really powerful here on this campus. So we even stepped away from a traditional lesson plan, so to speak, to taking time using professional learning time to really dive into the standards. Sometimes we noticed that, sometimes our understanding of the standard was a little surface level. We had to go deeper. So, putting key structures in place to help teachers dig into what is this standard? What do we need to be bringing before kids? It's not just, for instance, if the standard is about author's purpose, it's not just using the mnemonic PIE, persuade, inform, entertain. It's deeper than that. There are some inference pieces that need to be built into this lesson. And so when teachers are clear about what they're teaching, students can be clear that and they know the depth. Again, it goes back to those 3 questions. What am I learning today? Number 2, what's the purpose, and how will I know when I've learned it? And that's where that success criteria comes into place. When I came to this campus in 2020, there was this, I'm gonna call it a rumor or a myth, that there was a sense of learned helplessness on this campus. He couldn't learn. And I do not believe in kid blaming or kid shaming. So we had to change that narrative here on this campus. And I thought success criteria was one of those key action steps to get us there. And so when I say success criteria, we have a learning intention every day, and then we have success criteria every day. The success criteria are those individual steps. It's a pathway that's going to get the students to that learning intention. For example, one of our agreements on campus is that each learning intention has 3 to 4 success criteria. And if students can do those 3 to 4 things, then they met that learning intention for the day. And so that did for teachers, it broke down, it took the burden off. So you're telling me that I have to teach all of this in this amount of time. It helped our teachers chunk their instruction, but it also helped our students chunk what they need to be walking away from each lesson with. And it helped our students build some confidence. And we already know that success breeds success. So success criteria also provided avenues for student ownership, where not only students are not just coming to the classroom as passive learners, but that success criteria empower to take ownership for their learning. They're partnering with the teacher around that success criteria. So success criteria could also be used for students to do some self-reflection on where am I at in this lesson? What do I know? What am I walking out of this class with? What don't I have? And what are my next steps? Success criteria also provide an opportunity for peer interaction. So a lot of times we have our students to turn and talk and evaluate our work based on success criteria, and it gives them some academic feedback. And they're providing academic feedback to each other around the success criteria. So I'm not just going to say, "Oh man, your essay stinks. It's not good." But no, I'm going to say, "God, hey, buddy, you don't have your thesis statement here." And so it's amazing as a principal or an instructional leader when you walk into a classroom and you hear students providing each other feedback at that level. And it just helped build that level of ownership on our campus. Also, my last point talked about assessment-ready scholars. How do we ensure that when an assessment is put in front of students, that they're ready for it? And so again, it goes back to that alignment piece. What's the state objective? How might it be assessed on a state test? Or what does it need to look like in our HQIM, our instructional, high quality instructional material? What's the learning experience for students? Is there alignment between that? And lastly, that exit ticket or that assessment piece. Is there alignment between those things? And so when there's strong alignment, students are assessment ready. They're ready to show their thinking when it comes to real world problems or an assessment or just in life. We want to build thinkers here at Winona Middle School. And some of those structures, that's what they really hope to do. Again, building that clarity for teachers and for students, and building that ownership for students is something that we're passionate about here at Winona Middle School.
You know, as I listen to you, I'm hearing systems throughout the 3 points you made since we started the talking points. My question to you, I'm looking at the leadership now, looking at you and your team, but I'm particularly looking at you with this question. How are you going about getting buy-in for these systems that are in place within your campus?
Yes, sir. So that's a wonderful question. And for example, I have a teacher on campus. She's a veteran teacher. She's been teaching nearly 30 years.
Wow.
And so she's seen success. She's been in multiple districts. She's seen success, but there are some things that we put in place that maybe she had not done yet.
Mm-hmm.
And she's seen the success from doing those things. And so when you get veteran teachers who maybe they've not tried certain things, but now they're doing it and they're seeing that it's bringing success to kids, other teachers buy in. And so I never underestimate the voice of teacher to teacher. It's actually sometimes a little bit louder than principal.
Yeah.
You know, having teachers, those mentor teachers, those master teachers, share those success stories of how, you know, a particular system or a particular strategy or a structure leveled up outcomes for their students. It spreads like wildfire. It truly does. So, you know, that real life experience really speaks from teacher to teacher.
Yeah, teacher.
Can I add something to that, Principal Kafili? I think it's really important. Building a common language between a school. You know, it's all about systems. The NIT has a great instructional rubric that really hones in into best practices, what good teaching should look like in the classroom. And I think that tool, aside from being a great coaching tool, it builds the language around what should be seen in the classroom. I experienced several teachers when I was a principal who were resistant to change or to wanting to buy into a system that was, you know, very structured or whatnot. But one of the things that I would do is I would go in and observe, and I would identify the things that she was doing already or that they were doing already from that instructional rubric and say, look, you're actually doing all these things already. And to them, it's just we were labeling already something that they were not seeing as best practices. And once you get them there, then you start coaching, leveling them up, like Dr. Walker said, making sure that from that point forward, then there is another benchmark of greatness within their teacher efficacy or whatnot. So that's great. I think really important is building that common language between a school, or if you're doing an adoption at the district, you know, doing common language as a district.
And just to jump in there as a last piece, another way to put it in how we do it in my school is really defining what excellence looks like. If I go to a teacher and say, define to me what student learning looks like, that should be common through every teacher. And if it isn't, then you haven't defined it as a school system. Or what does good teaching look like? Define good teaching, or what does student excellence look like? Defining excellence for your school district needs to be a common thread throughout your school. And if you're walking into school and it's different in every classroom and every teacher doesn't have a common understanding of this is what my district defines as student learning. This is what my district defines as great teaching and instruction. And that needs to be common throughout the school.
I got to tell you all, here's the word that I'm hearing when I hear the three of you just now. I'm hearing the word brand.
Wow.
And I'm breaking it up into brand based on what Andrew just said, brand identity versus brand image. Because if we're speaking that common language or there's commonality within the school without necessarily relinquishing our individuality or autonomy, but there's certain ways that we do things that becomes our brand. That's our brand identity. But if for whatever reason we articulate what we want it to be, but it's not what we want it to be, is something else, then it becomes our brand image, right? Mm-hmm. So however we're being perceived. Right. So now the brand image and the brand identity are not aligned. So they're missing each other. And who do we become ultimately? The brand image. Wow. The way that people perceive us to be. So that commonality, oh my God, is so important. It's so important. So now, Andrew, when we say what is excellence, as this is just me, because I'm passionate about what you said, right? So there's really no need for me to reinforce that. I'm just you're speaking my language right now. So when we talk about what is excellence, I need the entire school this is what it is. When I used to do student assemblies on a large scale, I kind of aged out of those now, but when I did them on a large scale, before I got started in my presentation, I would say to the 1,000 kids sitting in the bleachers, 500, whatever it was, let me give you a definition for success, so that when you hear me say this word, we're clear that this is what I'm talking about, right? As opposed to I'm saying success and it meaning so many different things to 1,000 different kids who are receiving it. I said success, and if I had a PowerPoint, I put it on the screen. Success is the ability to live one's own life on one's own terms. I probably repeat it like 3 times. And now every time they heard me say success, I'm talking about you being able to live your life on your terms, right? Doing what it is you want to do, not what society says, this is all we have for you, right? So that mattered to me in an assembly with kids I will probably never see again in life, right? So you know what it meant when I was in the school with my students, whether it be as a teacher or as a principal. So what you said, Andrew, and Omar, even with the same thing, the reinforcement, it just resonates that there's commonality in meaning, right? In the way we do things, in the words that we speak, etc., as opposed to we all over the map.
And Principal Cafelli, not to interrupt you, but everything we're saying here isn't, our own thoughts or opinion. It's research backed. It's science driven. It's in books that it worked in the toughest districts. Having an alignment, as Johnny said and Omar said, an alignment, commonality through collaboration, not the skill set deficit. It's the will set proposition to get it done. It is tough to do. And as Johnny's talking to, and Omar, you guys are firing me up. When you're ready to move to Massachusetts, come on over. We'll make some change for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look here, Andrew, any final thoughts before we move into our BAM impact questions, which is our rapid fire?
What was that? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just any final thoughts on anything on your mind.
Yeah, for sure. Remain steadfast and optimistic in this work. Remain steadfast to your goals, to doing right by our students, keeping the main thing to the main thing, and remain optimistic. Right? We can't be in this work and say the sky is falling through the hallways. And now reflecting our teachers, we need to remain optimistic even through the tough times, even with a teacher that is, maybe in the rut. We all know the state of education right now. We need to be the light in this work to make sure that the next generation of students is well prepared, ready for life and growing. And as Principal Cafelli said, defining that success in them and seeing that they can live their true purpose in getting kids there. Not some kids, all kids, but we need to be the light and the beacon of that.
Good stuff. Dr. Walker, any final thoughts before we move into our impact questions?
Yes, sir. So, your original purpose for having us on was to celebrate and elevate that, being Milken winners here. I just want to elevate the voices of all of the educators out there.
Yeah.
You might have a Milken, one might be on the way, who knows? But you might not feel like you've gotten the notoriety that you deserve. But I just want to encourage you that you are doing good work, and the work that you are doing matters. And
That's right. Omar.
For me is, jumping off the block every day, right? So every day is a challenge. Great challenges come with great learning. And so for me, really making sure that my message is change is a constant. And if we need to move with it, if we have our students in mind.
I love it. Good stuff. Let's go to the BAM impact questions. These are rapid fire. Boom, 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 boom. Give each of you 7 questions. And if you find yourself getting ready to insert a comma in your answer, that means it's too long, right? This is either one sentence or even one word will suffice, right? Here we go. I'll start with Andrew. Is education on the right path for underserved children?
Yes, we know what to do with to reach underserved children. I believe educators do.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Does Andrew Rebello's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
It has, it will, and I'll never lose sight of that mission.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
Undoubtedly the same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Because I see myself in the kids. This is going to be longer. Because I see myself in the kids that are walking through the halls of my school right now.
Good stuff. What particularly fires you up within the work that you do?
Creating passion in students and seeing that light bulb go off.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
The protectors of the status quo, that the gravitational pull of the status quo and the protectors of it.
Dr. Walker, what has been your greatest victory in this work thus far?
Seeing students who've been marginalized break those glass ceilings and do more than anyone else thought they could.
What was your greatest mistake in your work?
I would say thinking that I could do it all by myself, not building that team around me.
What has been your greatest challenge in your work?
Bringing more community voices into the work that we do on a daily basis.
Are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal?
I am.
Are you proud of your first year as a principal?
Absolutely.
Who inspires you in your work?
Lots of voices, people like yourself, Principal. I'm not just saying that because you're on here, but lots of voices. Pedro, there's lots.
I appreciate that. What book would you recommend for our fam out there this afternoon?
Right here.
Oh, man. I didn't know you had a copy, man.
I was ready. I was ready, Principal.
What a plug.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
That's good. Okay. Omar, what do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
Reach my doctorate.
Are you satisfied with where you are professionally now?
I am, but there's always room for more improvement.
What would you say to let me start over. What would you say to assistant principals out there who continue to face closed doors to the principalship?
Don't give up. Continue to knock on those doors. Continue to strengthen your skills.
What would you say to assistant principals out there who feel that their talent is being wasted?
It's not. Hone on your talent.
What would you say to principals out there who've lost their leadership passion?
Get into the classrooms.
What would you say to principals out there who have lost their leadership confidence?
Seek partnership in other principals.
And if Omar Duron was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Pushing boundaries. I know
that's good. If Dr. Johnny Walker was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Passion.
And if Andrew Rebello was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Resilient.
Love it. Let me be the first to applaud you. Good stuff, great stuff. But actually, I'm lying. I'm not the first, because as a family, those who are fam, what we do is the way we applaud our guests, we just put up our favorite emojis, put a lot of them up. And I see that the fam has already started that process. So for those of you who are new to the platform, the way we celebrate, the way we show appreciation, show love to our guests. If the message today or messages today resonated with you, if it was good stuff, if you picked up some nuggets, if there was something you could use and implement infuse into your practice and implement within the school, then give us your favorite emoji. Bring them. And as I see you're already doing, that's the way we applaud our guests every Saturday morning. And then when I'm on the road, I use my little mobile emoji, not my big Louisville slugger, but I got my smaller one, which symbolizes the grand slams that you all hit out of the park every time you came to home plate to bat. Great stuff. And I should have mentioned I'm wearing my Philadelphia Giants Negro Leagues jersey today. But every time you came to bat, man, boom. So I thank you for it, for this Milken January 2025 third edition, week 3. Great stuff. Keep those emojis coming, y'all. Keep them coming. And normally I would have asked you those closing thoughts after, but I was experimenting, and I think I like them better right here. So that's experimenting in real time. But no, I appreciate you, my brothers in Milken. And by the way, if there's anybody out there and they're saying he's got all men on there, well, I had all women last week, right? So I decided I wanted these 3 women to come on together, and then I wanted the men to come on together, and that's how we did it. Gentlemen, stay on while I close out. All right. When I go off, stay there. To the fam out there, appreciate you being here. Week number 247 consecutive. When I say that 247, we're not just saying that I've done this for 247 weeks. This is consecutively, right? So that's commitment. You see my background. I'm not home. I'm in Las Vegas on vacation, taking it down, going to see Lionel Richie tonight, so we just taking it down, and then I'll be back in them education streets next week, right? So, next week, folks, join me again for week 248 as we close out Milken January 2025. I thought the most fitting guest to close us out would be the founder of the Milken Educator Awards. So that will be none other than Lowell Milken. He'll be on here going one-on-one with me. So certainly tune in, everybody. Once again, next week for week number 248, the Milken founder, Lowell Milken himself, will be in the building. Next Saturday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, Sean Hurt, followed by Sheikah Houston and Tammy, Dr. Sheikah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor would Create and Educate at 10:30. AP and New Principals Academy with myself at 10:55, and these are all Eastern time. And then PDP podcast with Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno on Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We are the Fantastic Four. That's what we call ourselves. The Saturday version, Super Saturday, right? So join us every Saturday and Sunday. That's very important. There it is, y'all. The new one. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? Get yourself a copy, y'all. You can go to Amazon right now. You can go to ASCD right now. I was saying earlier, I'm pleased with how it's doing so far. I got to thank all of you. We got 2,300 copies sold in the month of December, so I can't complain. Or I should say, from December 16 to January 16. So the first month, I'm happy about that. So keep them coming, y'all. Tell somebody. Superintendents out there, principals out there, buying for your teams, right? If there's someone that's not the instructional leader that they could be, this is for them. If you are not the instructional leader that you should be, I wrote this for you, right? My 14th book, 10th from ASCD, and I got a few more up my sleeve, right? But for now, this is where I'm at. Let me be public with my goals. I want this in graduate schools. I want this in districts all over America, right? More than any book I've ever written. This is the one. This is probably the best work. This is the best work I ever did. So get yourself a copy, y'all. And again, if you get it from Amazon, this is important. Give me them 5 stars, y'all. Right? Because we're in an algorithm world. I'm not saying that because I need you to inflate my ego. That's not what that's about. Right? The Assistant Principal 50 has 1,100, and I never said on this platform, give me these stars. It's algorithms, y'all. Give me them 5 stars. That's A. And now B, give me a review. Let me know you liked it. Let me know why. Right? If you disliked it, move on. Right? But let me know why you like this book. Right? So again, give me them 5 stars and give me the review. That's important. Right? And then I'll do the same for you when you write your book. And you saw that note I dropped on the screen, becoming a best-selling author. Go ahead. If you got a book in you, but you don't know where to start, let me put it on the screen for you again as I close out. Just go to my YouTube channel. Where we at? Here it is. Go to my YouTube channel, AP and New Principals Academy. I should say our YouTube channel, and scroll down to that particular playlist and watch those 5 hours of videos where I'm giving you all my secrets on how to become a best-selling author. It's 4 videos. And if you're sitting there saying, but I want to be a speaker too, I got you covered. I sat at this computer and recorded 9 hours. Can you believe that? 9 hours. I could set up seminars in every city in America and become a multi-millionaire doing these seminars, because half the population want to be a speaker, right? But I decided I ain't doing that. I'm putting it out there for free. 9 hours on YouTube. So you want to be a professional speaker or consultant, check out Becoming a Professional Speaker. 5 parts, 9 hours on the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel. And be sure to subscribe. That's important. Subscribe. We got 23,000 subscribers right now, but I want to go up to 100,000, right? So make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell that pops up after you hit subscribe, which lets you know when I'm live in case you forget, right? Then, oh, AP New Principals Academy is on. I got to turn in and tune in. Hey, y'all, I can't talk to you right now. I got to watch this. That's how we work that out, right? All right, y'all. So other than that, visit principalcafele.com for all my resources. Get with me in July at the Instructional Leadership Institute, July 15 and 16 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Just go to principalcafele.com, scroll down and look for the link, and then click the link and subscribe at Eventbrite, right? I want you to come with me in July 15 and 16. We talking instructional leadership all day long for 2 days. Come on down. And then lastly, lastly, your diet, your exercise, and your virus precautions. Make sure that you are doing whatever is necessary to take care of you, because it's stuff out here, y'all. It's stuff out here, right? So make sure that you're protecting yourself, because if you're not protecting you, then how you going to work? How you going to lead your school? How you going to lead your staff? How you going to lead your students when you're not well? So make sure you're doing whatever it is that you need to do to stay protected, right? Other than that, y'all, have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! I'll see y'all next Saturday at 10:55 with Lowell Milken.